So yeah, we have an informal discussion today. Frank Neopold was going to facilitate, but he is at a conference, so I am here instead. I was just thinking, I feel like and maybe everyone touched on this a little bit last week. I was out, but I've been thinking about uh the end of the school year coming up and things that CLEAN is trying to wrap up before that comes, and then looking at, how we're gonna continue to try to engage teachers over the summer. So I was kind of thinking we could talk about that, those strategies, or anything of note over the summer that we should uh, be cross promoting or anything like that. We certainly can talk about other things though if other people are um, itching to bring up other topics. But do you all want to do some introductions and announcements first? I'll just say um, I'm Gina. I am the CLEAN program coordinator, and most of you know that, but I am here every Tuesday hosting these calls. And um, I'm just excited right now because we're recruiting for the CLEAN review camp that's happening in June. So we're taking some big next steps in our review process for this year, and that's kind of top of mind for me. Um, and Patrick, I probably am missing other CLEAN things, so I'm going to send it to you.
Hmm. Um, let's see. Well, we're just finishing up the National Climate Assessment Educators Guide this week, and we'll have that up on the website hopefully by the end of the month. That'll be fun to have. And teaching across the curriculum research portion is finished. So I will have preliminary stuff on that in the next few weeks, month and a half. I don't know. It's going to happen as soon as the writing happens, and that's a little tricky to predict. But anyway, so a couple big projects wrapping up there, and we're having some productive discussions on how to move the CLEAN Ambassador program forward. Um, so I think that's about it. Wahoo! I'll pass it over to Scott.
Oh, thank you, Patrick. This is Scott Luker, Florida Climate Educators Network, and located down in South Florida. And I'm trying to think. I think Rachel through our network just sort of talking about some.
Oh, is it me or is Scott? Scott's freezing. Okay. It's usually me, so just wanted to check. Oh, Scott, you cut out there for a minute. Um, sometimes
Oh, sorry.
okay, it seems to be better now.
Okay, sorry about that. Um, and anyway, I'm not sure what we missed. Anyway, Rachel and I are doing a presentation in a couple weeks for our Florida Climate Educators Network on some presentation we did with a Youth Climate Summit here, and them their thoughts about climate education, what would be the priorities for that. So would love to have some folks from this group look at what we discussed with the students and whether that might be a good activity for other teachers to try with their own students about polling them for what they think good climate education is. So I'll turn it over to Ann.
Hi, we're okay. So we're from FAU Pine Jog in South Florida, and we are basically but we've applied for a couple grants. We're just waiting to hear from those. Um, Keeping our fingers crossed, of course, and because we're a self-funded entity for Florida Atlantic University. So anyway, yeah, so that's basically what's kind of going on. We're just kind of sitting around waiting on hearing. And then I guess, do you know when NAAEE, when we hear about when they make a, tell us when what presentations have been accepted?
I'm I'm not sure because I submitted some maybe a couple months probably.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not sure. I remember correctly in the past it was a maybe like June-ish.
gotcha.
These conferences sometimes feels like they take their time.
Take their time, I know. And although I feel like that it's to their best benefit, because if you have a presentation that you're doing, you're going to come,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, maybe I'm maybe jaded from AGU because I felt like that conference this year, people were waiting for such a long time, but
Mhm.
yeah, people got to make travel arrangements. So hopefully we hear soon. I submitted a few for CLEAN, so hopefully we hear back. But yeah.
Good.
Um,
Yep. Well, fingers crossed.
yeah, for all of us.
Yeah.
And Scott, I was gonna say, if you and Rachel at any point wanted to talk more about the youth work to clean, that would be very much welcome, but also no pressure. So if you want to, pick a date for that at any point, let me know. Yeah. Carolyn, did you go yet?
No, and apologies in advance. I may drop off this call. I've had really spotty reception. Tallahassee got hit with 3 tornadoes on Friday. It snapped over 400 electrical poles and caused more damage than hurricanes Hermine, Michael, and Irma combined. Apparently, I now live in tornado country. All this extreme weather, it's almost like the climate itself is changing. It's very strange. So yeah, so I've had, like I said, really spotty connections, and I've like glitched and dropped quite a bit if that does happen. We're still in recovery mode. We had to postpone an event this weekend because I mean I'm not traveling in that, and we still have severe weather warnings for this afternoon. So I'm just hoping the line workers, like, forget line workers, they are miracle workers, getting so many people back on back on so soon, and like 11 of the big electrical substations were severely damaged. We think that we had one death, but a lot of folks are currently staying in hotels or at friends' places because a tree came through their window. So yeah, so there's been a lot to deal with over here. And I'm still every time my little weather app beeps telling me about, telling me about something, I'm like twitching almost. Just being really anxious about it. So I don't know, like
Yeah. Well, first of all, that's really scary to be living in. And I feel like I personally don't know a lot about the connection between tornadoes and climate. I feel like climate change, I feel like there's a lot of focus on different natural disasters, but tornadoes are not one that's talked about a lot, I feel like.
it's in no way conclusive as of yet. But so thunderstorms, are caused by the same thing as hurricanes, which is rising moist air. So, so there's that. And then we are seeing, we can't conclusively link it to climate change as of yet. I think that in the coming years it will be. Tornado Alley is moving south and east. So think about, like the movie Twister in Nebraska, and then like looking at the last couple of years, the most devastating ones have been in Missouri and Arkansas. And I just dropped some pictures of, yeah, all the broken utility poles, and those are the paths of, again, the 3 F2 hurricanes that all touched down in Tallahassee. So we're having at least 6 like tornado watches a year, couple tornado warnings, and then every like year or two, one touches down. Sometimes they cause more or less damage. Couple years ago, one hit the solar farm near our airport. Although I have to say, for how bad it was, the solar panels were remarkably resilient. Sorry, Rachel, go ahead. I know I've been rambling for a while. I'm just my brain is still going nuts.
No, not at all. Can you guys hear me first of all?
Yep.
Yay, it works. I had to restart the computer. No, actually, it was kind of just talking about what you were talking about. Growing up. No, I didn't grow up in Alligator Alley, or not alligator. I got alligator on the brain. Tornado Alley. But in North Carolina, I remember as a kid, we had tornado drills and tornado warnings and stories left and right. And that brought me a lot of anxiety. I'm talking about climate change anxiety or weather anxiety. So I can relate, Carolyn, and I'm sorry you're having to deal with that. And yeah, so I hope you guys are in the clear for the most part.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I just put another picture in there showing it goes to 2020, but tornado frequency trends where we're seeing more versus fewer, and yeah, it's interesting.
I would,
I was always really scared of tornadoes. That was like the biggest thing that I was afraid of. I wasn't afraid of much else, but tornadoes really scared me because they would come out of nowhere.
You weren't prepared at all. We weren't supposed to be in the air, it was supposed to be much farther north of us. So again, like I said, I just got a tornado watch yesterday, so I'm just, hiding in the bathtub with my cats.
I would be interested to see if, since that, the concentration seems to be moving south and east, I feel like living, growing up in a place where there's a lot of mountains, we always said, like, we don't have to worry about tornadoes here because we're in mountains. It would be interesting to see, if those areas still, I always was under the impression that the Midwest was hit so hard because it's very flat, so it'd be interesting to see
Florida
as
is actually the
east.
flattest, but Florida is actually the flattest state in the country.
Yeah. And, as you go down the East Coast and there's the Appalachians and stuff, I wonder how that will kind of coincide, if that will prevent them from getting worse or if that won't matter at a certain point. Probably the latter.
Gina, I wonder if it might be, you have anybody who studies tornadoes that you could bring on to talk a little bit about any possible trends and those kinds of questions? That might be an interesting little presentation and talk.
I was just thinking that we can probably hit up Frank. I mean, he works, directly at NOAA. I'm sure that he's got somebody in his contact list.
We actually have a contact with the National Hurricane Center, and of course they're going to be knowledgeable of things like tornadoes too. We have water spouts all the time here, and hurricanes spawn tornadoes. Maybe I wonder if I can contact him. Maybe he's down here in Miami.
Yeah, especially if he's in a state that,
we're
that's
about to,
more
this
of it.
is our hurricane preparation week, I think, for us down here, and our season starts June 1st, and maybe that'll start getting earlier too. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
He's a meteorologist, so that would seem like the right kind of person to speak about it. I don't know. You want me to? I can reach out.
That would be great. Yeah. Because I don't have any, I'm sure there's someone at the university that could speak to it. I don't know I would have to dig around and do some asking. So if there are people that are top of mind, we could start there. But yeah. We were doing introductions and got into that discussion. Rachel, do you want to just introduce yourself since you got your mic working now?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Rachel Wellman here. I'm in West Palm Beach, Florida, and representing FAU Pine Dog Environmental Education Center. I'm a program coordinator, and I lead the Climate Ready program here, which we're thankfully able to move forward. I've got 20 students registered for my summer class, so that's a success, and I'm very excited about it. Our goal is 18, so 20 is awesome.
Yay, nice. Congratulations. Melissa and Christy, I don't think have been able to go yet. Either of them wanna? Yeah.
Hi, good morning. I'm Melissa Rummel. I work at the UCAR Center for Science Education, based out of Boulder, Colorado. Yeah, we've got some teacher PD workshops coming up in June that we're excited about, mostly with climate science and climate solutions focus for elementary and secondary level educators. And other than that, we're just working on all of our projects.
Nice.
Hi, I'm Christy Buffington. I'm sorry that I'm a little late today. And I've been off and on being able to come. I'm in Fairbanks, Alaska at the University of Alaska Fairbanks on the lands of the Lower Tanana Dene people of the Lower Tanana River. And it is raining today. I rode my bike to work yesterday and rode it back in hail. So I've been working, planning a climate change and my community workshop. It is for teachers, for elders and tribal administrators, long-term knowledge holders. This is going to be every year we change the focus. This year the focus is on water and fish. And it's going to be in just about a month here in interior Alaska. As you probably know, our water temperatures are increasing worldwide, and they are in Alaska in the Yukon River. And Chinook salmon, king salmon, and also chum salmon are very much affected by that. And we have issues with now people who have been fishing for 15,000 plus years are not allowed to harvest fish anymore along the Yukon River. So it's a really very difficult subject. There's so many factors involved, and I'm trying to plan a very respectful workshop in a month. We're going to be outside doing all kinds of sampling and using GLOBE protocols so that teachers can work with students to collect data as well. And we had several Alaskan groups going to the GLOBE Student Research Symposium in Pasadena, California last week. So it's also an opportunity for students to be locally monitoring these changes that they're observing, and I help provide opportunities for them to share their work. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for sharing that, Christy. And I'll just do a little plug. If anyone missed the presentation that Christy did with Kayla Bannister a few weeks ago on their Dirty Snow project, it was really cool, and we have the recording on our website. So be sure to check that out if you weren't able to join that week. Cool. And then I know that Leah said that she was driving, so I don't think she will.
Oh, I'm here. I'm actually just getting to the office.
Awesome. Good timing.
Good timing. I'm not quite in the office yet, but I can talk because I'm not driving. So I'm Leah Lowry. I am the executive director of the Climate Initiative. I'm here whenever I can be. It's been a little sparse, but I do the best I can. I'm very excited. Next week we have our Collegiate Policy Institute here in Maine. I'm located in Maine, but we're a national organization, and in August we are starting our waiting list for our educator retreat, our climate educator retreat, which is at capacity right now at 85 educators, but we've just had a couple of people who might have to cancel. So we might have some extra space coming up. So we might open up registration again. I'm not sure, but that's where we are.
Awesome. Yeah, I've seen those advertised in years past, and they always seem super interesting, and I try to share on our channels as much as I can. So feel free to share a link to that too, if you're still recruiting, but no worries if not.
Thank you.
Cool. And then Deb just joined. I don't want to put you on the spot, Deb, but we were just finishing up introductions. So and announcements, if you have anything that you want to share. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself.
Hey, so sorry. I was trying to join and I could not for the life of me remember the passcode. So sorry about that. It's been a while since I've been here. So I'm Deb Morrison. I'm with the Institute for Science and Math Education at the University of Washington. And many things beside. I work on issues of climate justice learning design, and just capacity building and support. So part of the Climb Time effort in Washington State, and working across efforts, work with Patrick on the teaching across curriculum effort, a bunch of different stuff. Yes, announcements. Oh my gosh. I thought I would share. I'm so happy to be here. I generally have not been able to make these meetings due to a partnership conflict on Tuesdays, which now is resolved. So I should be able to make them from now on.
Great to
But
have you, Deb.
yeah, I thought I would share our new STEM teaching tool, which we have been many years in making, and many researchers and collaborators have contributed to this. And it was answering the question, like, what do we think is a framework for climate justice learning? So that might be helpful for folks. We're writing a research paper to follow up on it, to just expand it a bit deeper. And we have a bunch of, we have a special issue in conducted science learning coming out this summer related to this, and a couple other special issues with researchers that we're kind of pulling together for the next year. So anybody know any work that's going on climate justice learning? Let me know, because I got enough space for everyone over the next year on different issues.
Cool. That's really exciting. And we should maybe see if we can get that in the next clean review cycle or something like that. Yeah, did I miss anyone for intros? Well, we've got about half an hour left, and like I said, I was just thinking about the end of the school year coming up, and if anyone has strategies for engaging teachers over the summer, or things to highlight, I thought we could talk about that. This is also pretty top of mind for me, just because we are CLEAN is hosting a regional cohort day for Climate Generation Summer Institute. And usually we have some person from Climate Generation on one of these calls, but that's been kind of like a huge cross multiple organizations, and very collaborative event that they've been doing for many years now. So that's kind of why that's top of mind for me, is because we're pulling together speakers and agenda and attendees for all of that. But does anyone else have thoughts or things that they want to share about this time of year?
Maybe can I just add on to that, Gina, just related to the Summer Institute?
Yeah.
we have been really busy, so we have not been tracking everyone else's initiatives on things, including that. So let us know if there's anything we can do to support sessions you're doing or others are doing. Brad Street did reach out to me because I know he's doing something related to the Climb Time effort or climate learning. So we may get sucked into his session. I just talked to him last week about it. But yeah, really happy to help in whatever way. We are leading a professional learning institute for Encella this summer. They're coming out to Seattle. I'll find the call for it. It's somewhere. And I know Phil Bell just posted it on Twitter or on X, whatever it's called. But I'll find the page for it. Anyway, we're leading it. It's all on climate change. So we're co-designing it with Encella.
Can you remind me what Encella is, Deb? I don't remember the acronym.
National Science Education Leadership Association. So they are the like districts, TOSAs, district level coordinators, kind of sub-state level.
Okay. Cool. Is there any other, so it sounds like there's a few PD, the Climate Generation Summer Institute is definitely a very solid teacher professional development opportunity. Are there other PD events and stuff that people have heard about or anyone else is hosting?
I know that there's, I have an ask for all of you. There's certainly loads of teacher professional development happening in every state as well. My ask is if you know of things that are happening with Alaska or the Arctic or people in the lower 48 who are wanting to learn about changes in the Arctic, I'm running a newsletter that goes out to the Alaska STEAM Academy. So if you have something that you want to post or if you want to recruit educators from Alaska to attend a professional development, I have a newsletter I'm putting out and I'm going to get it probably, I think it's going to go out in August when they're starting to come back. So it's the summer one already went out. So they're already planning what they're doing this summer. But if you have opportunities for next year, let me know and I will get those out. What I have is a form for you to fill out so that this can be posted. We do have a little internal group that will review and prioritize how we post these in a newsletter. So let me put that in the chat, but that's not specifically answering your question, Gina.
No,
I was just thinking of the local teacher academies and associations. And this is a collaboration between University of Colorado, UAF, and others to get word out through the Navigating the New Arctic Community Office.
No, we're talking about teacher engagement, so it's very relevant. Are you connected at all to Colleen Fisk, who's in Alaska?
Yes, Colleen and I have done climate and energy workshops together.
Okay.
So I feed her stuff out for Alaska, but sometimes Alaskans don't learn about what you all are doing or the other way around. Like sometimes you're like, I wish we had people attending from, Alaska. Well, this is how I can get it out and maybe help you recruit.
Yeah, that's super helpful.
Gina, I have a question because community of practice, of course, has come up many times, and it seems like it's still disjointed in terms of getting all the teachers together. Have you guys thought about other ways in which we could get like minds together in the sense of sharing information like that? Because email honestly isn't that effective. I don't think a lot of stuff gets sent to junk. A lot of stuff gets missed and a lot of folks get a million emails. So, I mean, something that's come up, and if you remember in AGU, we even had teachers stand up and say, hey, what's a good way to get this information to teachers? And as you know, I've been on an advocate for something like, it doesn't have to be, but something like the Google Classroom setup. So I'm wondering if that is something that can be discussed, maybe not necessarily at this meeting, but it just seems relevant to what we're talking about.
No, that's a good point. And actually, Patrick, you might know a little bit more about this than I do, but Patrick mentioned right at the beginning that we're trying to kind of up our game with the CLEAN Ambassador program, which historically has been a very just like solid, consistent program of having, we have like 10 or so teachers who are actively involved at any given time go to regional conferences and present about CLEAN, and we will pay for their conference registration or their travel or registration fees. But we're trying to beef that up a little bit and think about what ways we can get more teachers involved in that. Because we're often looking for teacher feedback for a lot of things that we're doing, and they're a wealth of knowledge, and we're just really trying to figure out how to support them best. Patrick, I don't know if I'm doing a very good job of explaining that.
Well, I mean, it's still kind of in the works as to exactly how we're going to move forward. My best guess is that we keep a version of the current ambassador program because its flexibility is really important to a lot of the folks who are involved. But we may also create a version in which we're asking folks to commit to a specific amount of time, whether that's a year or two, and to follow through with a number of commitments during that time. Probably something along the lines of like 4 meetings a year and then maybe one event. And we're looking at how to help create support for bringing climate change into curriculum through that program. Exactly what it looks like we're hashing out, because we want it to be a supportive and reciprocal partnership while also, doing solid work that supports bringing climate into lots of different curriculum.
Yeah, and we are still building this out. So actually, Rachel, I had forgotten about the conversations we had with some of the teachers at AGU. I remember that now. The Google Classroom was brought up, and I don't know exactly what the new version of the ambassador program is going to look like for us, but Google Classroom could be an interesting platform to explore, because I know so many teachers use that and love it too. That's like a really big thing for them. And it's very user friendly in my experience, my limited experience. But it can be tough, with anything. Capacity is very tough. And I think that's why the ambassador program has been very consistently the same thing for a long time, and we've been able to do what we can with it. But hopefully, I think are going to have a little bit more flexibility with our funding to expand that a little bit. I think that was written into our grant this year. So,
Well, and I guess my thinking too, because something like that, you can put up like what Christy was talking about, the newsletter. You could have a section where, there's announcements or whatnot, and you can put things in different forms. It's not just a website, which I know CLEAN has a website and it's great, but there's just so much there that it can be incredibly overwhelming. So if things are maybe put a little bit simpler for a teacher who is like working already 16 hours a day, to just simply click this or go here or go that, make it as easy and user-friendly as possible would be ideal for the teacher.
Yeah, and I send out a monthly educator newsletter, but that's always that's always changing in terms of the topics that I share and the events, and there's not like a workspace per se that would have some keystone important links at the top that they could just go to at any time. Yeah, we do not have that. So it's interesting to think about, and I'm glad it's coming up as we're kind of reworking the ambassador program, like I said. Yeah, so I mean, I'm just remembering a conversation I had with Jessica Bean a year or two ago about how they found that in their work doing teacher PD is much more successful in the summer because teachers are not, trying to work and do the PD at the same time. So I feel like I've seen more and more programs happening in the summer. So that's why this was all coming to mind. And then another thing is that we typically do a little bit of a heavier marketing push at the end of the school year in terms of getting more resources out and kind of using the end of the school year banner as a way to engage people a little bit more as well. So does anyone have end of the school year efforts that they're working on, or campaign or anything like that?
I have a lessons learned, don't do what I'm doing story.
Good to know.
That's always helpful, actually, Christy. We so rarely hear those stories, but that's really
Don't do what I'm doing. I don't know. So we have programs that people have been participating in all year. And now the programs have gotten big enough that there's multiple collaborators, but we have one evaluator. And the different teams have, so what we're trying to do is these students have been participating in some climate change education work throughout the school year. And many of the students have had opportunities to do things in their community from participatory science, and some have traveled, like I mentioned earlier, to Pasadena and elsewhere. So it's the last week of school in Alaska, and we're like, oh shoot, we didn't get the release forms for you to fill out the surveys. It's the last week of school. Can you please have your parents fill out this so that your students can fill out the surveys? This is something that we normally do upfront in advance, but our projects have gotten so big with so many collaborators that it's like, oh shoot, did you do that? I didn't do that, and so now it's the end of this school year, and we now I'm worried we won't be able to get students to fill out these surveys about the great work that they've done all year. And yet that's the lesson. It's like, how do we do this so that it's packaged up at the beginning of the year when the permission slips go out? That's when educators need these things. So it's a one-time sign these things at the beginning of the year. So that's my lesson there. And then there are opportunities that teachers they want things to be packaged in a certain way in a certain time because they're so overwhelmed and overloaded. So the more that on our end, I help communicate that so that it's not weekly or monthly emails. This is the package for the year, but it's not a packet, because they also are not wanting packets right now. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, planning to do better starting in the fall. And hope and pray that some parents will, the last week of school, fill out release forms. for their kiddos to do a survey. So that's my lessons learned. Don't do what I'm doing.
Have you, Chrissy, which institution is the survey approved through?
The IRB is through University of Alaska Fairbanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some, like one of the ways that we found that I've had that problem a lot, and not the specific end of the year problem, but just even getting consent forms done with, it's a major challenge. So some institutions are allowing the survey front page to be the institution, the consent form. So I would in future just work with your IRB because it greatly improves survey response if you can do a digital response and put the actual consent on the first page of the survey. Then you don't have to do 2 steps.
Do you do tracking somehow to know if the parents have signed before the students fill it out? Because the problem is the teachers are like, here, fill this out. And it's often now digitally, but they won't know who, they don't know what parents have signed what.
Yeah, so we have done it with tracking numbers. You're right. The Daphne project, we did it with tracking numbers. So the other way that we've done it with students in that situation is if we were able to argue that the survey was some part of the regular course of instruction. So like that it was actually part of feedback educators needed to do their work better and that we got the information anonymously, we were able to do it that way. So it's it's like active and passive consent. So we were allowed some form of like youth passive consent without having to get parental permission because it was a regular course of instruction item. So
Nice.
and we didn't get identified information. We got de-identified information.
That's what we're doing as well. Okay. And we hire an evaluator to do this. And so that's where my lesson learned is my little piece. I didn't see the big picture in the fall. So this is really helpful, Deb. Thank you.
Christy, is there like a parent night when everyone is already all together? I found, when I was in the classroom, whenever we had, I thought it was called parent night. I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, all the parents would be in your classroom and anything you wanted them to sign or fill out, that was like the best opportunity to just get it all out, have your whole year planned and have it all completed and signed by that night.
Yeah, I love that. This is rural across most of these communities are roadless areas, so we don't actually go there. So all this communication is phone and email, and then teachers in Alaska use a lot of Facebook. So trying to get through that network in that world. But this is the educators, the parent night is the time to do it for sure. Well, thank you. I didn't mean to go into my issues of what I'm dealing with this very week.
No, it's so interesting. Sorry, Christy, if I can just steal one more thought on this, because this is actually like a lot of the sort of guts of the work is actually gets trapped in these little weird little loops. So one of the other things that I've seen work, I haven't done it personally, but I've seen work really well is if you put, especially in remote settings, like what you're talking about, is if you create a little like Google site kind of space with your consent form, a little description of the project, any kind of contact information, and then just give that link out to parents, then parents can grab the form easily. Because sometimes the movement of the form, like from teacher to kid to parent back to, it just doesn't work. And so you can get a digital version, like a DocuSign version of the form that you can have up on the site that can, like parents can just submit it digitally. So, and then it gets back to you faster too. So like, that's also a way to handle that. There's all these little tricks and things, and then you can actually put it out on the teacher Facebook page or the like community Facebook page, and it can just like, it kind of moves through things a little faster. So that's also another way. I know
That's a great idea. I really love that. And then because we're collaborating with different projects, that way can live on different projects and know what each contributor is doing as well. Because then it can be tracked by that project. Awesome. Thank you.
And I know all these things, and I encourage everyone to engage in the Youth They're Tricky, because we need every single thing that you're doing written about right now to help move the policy space forward.
Yeah, and I totally agree, Deb, that those types of things are what frustratingly, mess us up sometimes. I have a really hard time problem solving with things like that, and it's really hard to not get bogged down in the technicalities of things. And there's so much of that with CLEAN, unfortunately, that it's just like the nature of the beast sometimes. And obviously we've been able to discuss it, so this is something that happens to people quite often. So it's exactly what these calls are for.
And then
Meg.
getting like having some sort of tying the surveys to some sort of incentive. That's really hard too, whether it's allowed or not. But at the end of the school year, during Teacher Appreciation Week, it would be really great to be like, here's your, 49 store, like in Alaska, there's local artists, and they could get a gift card to that store so they can buy Alaska Native art or something. That would be really cool to be able to give. And I know that that has to be planned and approved if surveys are tied to any kind of gift cards. So, but teachers need stuff like that. And if they could have something that relates to something place-based or part of climate solutions, even better.
Other thoughts or challenges from folks?
I had a question, I threw it in the chat, but we're having trouble getting through to Rockefeller Foundation, and I don't know if anybody has had any success on getting through to them. They have a big push that they're expanding their work in climate change right now. But that might be the reason that we're having some trouble getting through to them, is that there's a little internal chaos of who's handling what. So anyway, if anybody knows anybody who has a connection, I would also love that pathway. Just because we're trying to help a bunch of different infrastructure and development efforts get connected with Rockefeller, but we need like a hook.
You can.
Sorry, I did drop off for a bit there, but yes, this is my newest batch.
Adorable. I'm sure fostering is even more important in these days of crazy weather, and stray animals are kind of at risk more. So
I was driving, Carolyn, and I didn't tell you guys this, but my classroom got hit by a tornado my last year of teaching ag in Virginia. Tore my classroom right off the school.
oh my
God, I'm so sorry to hear that.
It's one way to retire.
yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, one of the one that went through sort of our college town downtown area, it hit our art district and like decimated a whole bunch of studios. And then all three colleges in Tallahassee were hit hard. The community college, FSU, and FAMU all sustained quite a bit of damage.
Oh, it's terrible. I'm thankful no one, I mean, it was when school was out, so there was no people were hurt in any way. So that's why I said it tongue in cheek, but if anybody had been hurt, I would have not said anything, but yeah.
No, that's fair. Cute dog, Deb. Well, if there's anything else from folks, feel free to jump in, but I have a 2:00 meeting, and I think we all appreciate some transition time maybe. But yeah, cool. We'll be here next week. We have another informal discussion next week. Colleen Fisk is facilitating, so we'll probably be talking about something Alaska related, at least a little bit. And Yeah, good to see you, Deb, and some folks that haven't been able to join in a while. It's good to see you. So, yeah, have a great rest of your day and see you next week.